Blessed to you all viewers of Equinoxe Television. It's time for the news and you're all welcome. We begin right away with some major stories. About 200 persons in the Douala 4 area, precisely in Bonaberry, say they are now stranded after their shops were demolished by the local authorities. Those affected, most of them internally displaced persons, say they are now confused because it depended on their businesses to earn a living. And breast cancer victims in Cameroon complain that the price of treatment is very exorbitant. We will be telling you more in this newscast, so stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. We begin this newscast with this human interest story in Dibombari in the Littoral region, where some suspected bandits have been apprehended in the Mongo division. This was during an operation carried out by the brigade commander Eric Mvondo Patrick. Within the same brigade, a man who reportedly stabbed his ex-wife is also behind bars. Let's now have details of those stories with our staff man, Smart Njikan Gabriel.
There were 3 suspects who were shown to the public by the elements of the Gendarmerie Brigade of Bwelolo in the Bombari Subdivision, Mongo Division. According to the brigade commander Eric Patrick Mvondo, the 3 suspects have been causing sleepless nights to inhabitants of the Bombari by either harassing them on the way or breaking into their homes. The success recorded this far by the security forces was appreciated by the people of the Bombari, who need more. We have no rest in the hands of these boys. Everything you put outside gets missing. I'm requesting the commander to help stop these issues.
I'm very glad too much.
I'm so happy because the rate of stealing and smoking of marijuana within the Bombari has dropped. We urge them to continue with the same spirit.
All the Bombari, we declare here because all that small thief for planties, thief for house, then brew a house, then carry a pot for chop, then carry this thing.
With the suspect, Commander Eric Patrick Mvondo and his elements seized a dagger alongside a pincer plier, which the suspects have been accused of using against their victims. In the same Bwelolo brigade, a man in his late 60s was also presented for stabbing his ex-wife after he had a fight with the man the woman is currently living with at a bar.
I'll come out only for go fix my bike.
I went out to fix my bike before I met my ex-wife and husband. As I was about leaving, the husband to my ex-wife started throwing insults on me. A fight began between us. He tried using a chair and a shovel on me. I used the knife on me and stabbed my ex-wife, who was holding me away from her present man.
Now that time he leave me, and then he leave me with the follow that man, he don't run, he go.
The woman, who fortunately received minor injuries, is presently receiving medical care at a health center in Dibombari.
From Dibombari, we come down to Bonaberry in the Douala 4 area, where about 200 business persons are complaining that their shops have been demolished by the local authorities. Those affected, we told you in the headlines, are internally displaced persons who depended mostly on their shops to earn a living. Let's have more with our reporter Lucy Diengu Esie.
In the fight against urban disorder in Cameroon, stores, business places along the streets of Bonaberry in the Douala 4 subdivision have been destroyed. Owners of these business places say they are disgruntled.
When we came, they told us that we should pay content a 1-year document. So we have paid all our documents, not knowing that they will come and tell us to park and leave these premises. If they could have even told us that, okay, maybe in the next 3 months or 4 months we'll leave these premises, we could have prepared ourselves. But they came and they took us unaware. They have destroyed our properties. Some of my staff that even cried, that even right now on coma, so they've cried them to the hospital because they are frustrated.
Dr. Mobimpa Edouard, the mayor of Douala 4, says the action is to ensure a clean municipality.
I think that we all want to have a clean council, and it's the fact that we have some of the council workers who want to make that our council be clean. We want to put in some sites containers who are specified.
The mayor adds that the tax paid by users of these public places is temporal.
It's temporarily, it's not definitively. And I think that, as I said before, we want everyone, every person of Douala for one, a clean council.
According to internally displaced persons, the destruction of their stores comes as a surprise to them, as this was their only source of income.
So we are pleading on the government that they should help us, because we don't even know what to do from here right now. We are all ITPs from Northwest and Southwest.
The destruction, according to a municipal police on duty, is with respect to the World Habitat Day, which seeks to reflect on the state of towns, cities, and on the basic rights of all to adequate shelter.
And now we move on to the northern part of Cameroon, where the Minister for Defense, Joseph Beti-Asomo, is on a security evaluation meeting in the northern regions of Cameroon. There he noticed that the Boko Haram insurgency continues in that part of the country. But Joseph Beti-Asomo assured the local population that security forces have everything under control. We have more with our staffman, Innocent Aze.
La situation est revenue à la sérénité dans ce département.
Though defense and security forces are winning the war against Boko Haram in some localities in the far north region, the jihadists are bent on spreading terror in some areas.
La menace de Boko Haram persiste comme elle persiste d'ailleurs dans d'autres départements.
During a security evaluation meeting at the 4th Joint Military Region, the Minister of Defense, Joseph Beti-Asomo, assured the relentless efforts of the state forces to eradicate the terrorists, protect the population, and preserve Cameroon's territorial integrity.
Pour assurer l'intégrité territoriale de cette partie du pays, assurer la sécurité des personnes et des biens.
It was also an occasion for the defense boss to visit wounded soldiers receiving treatment at the hospital of the 4th Joint Military Region with messages of comfort and encouragement. While at the hospital, it was revealed soldiers occupied 5.5% of the beds. Thus, a total of 10 soldiers hospitalized.
Militaires hospitalisés, des anciens blessés de guerre.
That for about 6 months, the hospital has not registered any new wounded elements in operations.
Ça veut dire que c'est un personnel qui respecte exclusivement les consignes et les prescriptions du haut commandement.
Those who mostly benefit from the services of the hospital of the 4th Joint Military Region are the local population.
And now we talk health. We told you in the headlines that breast cancer victims in Cameroon are complaining that the cost of treatment is very high or exorbitant for them. This situation pushes them most often to rely on local traditional medicine or herbal medicine. Our reporter Immaculate Fogwe tells us in the report, which comes up next, that medics have encouraged the patients to know that breast cancer is not a death sentence.
Molo Caroline Siru, 49 years old, has been suffering with breast cancer for 7 years now. The survivor says continuous treatment has enabled her to overcome the disease all this while.
I discovered the cancer in my system as a boy on my breast. Then I continue with chemotherapy until now I'm here. But in the village, they say it's something that you cannot live with it, but I've lived with it for 7 years.
Another breast cancer victim, Gideon Bertin, says though treatment is essential, high treatment cost is making lots of victims to stay back at home.
Déjà 2018, le traitement était vraiment très cher.
In 2019, treatment was so expensive. Though the government has subsidized treatment, the amount spent monthly is still very high. We hope they will do something about it.
Parce que jusqu'ici, c'est toujours très cher.
Just like them, there are many other breast cancer victims living in the city of Douala. Health experts urges them not to consider the disease as a death sentence. Early diagnosis will facilitate treatment. We should always palpitate our breast. If we notice a lump, then we should immediately visit the hospital for checkup. Life continues even after being diagnosed with breast cancer. There are different treatment options available now. We equally need to avoid gaining lots of weight, reduce our alcohol intake, avoid cigarettes, and carry out regular physical exercise. Considering the increase in the number of breast cancer cases, a seminar was organized by the Douala General Hospital to sensitize victims on how to live a normal life despite suffering with breast cancer. They were equally advised on what to do in order to reduce the chances of seeing their health condition deteriorate. Though just few men are affected by this disease, they are equally called upon to watch out for any changes around their breast.
And now we talk something else. The lawyer of the former rector of the University of Douala, Professor Dieudonné Oyono, who was recently acquitted by the Special Criminal Tribunal, has said the lawyer's liberation has a special message to Cameroon and Cameroonians as a whole. Speaking in Yaoundé, she said the professor is not yet ready to reclaim damages caused to him during all the years he spent in prison. A staffman for me, Armstrong Sanda tells us more.
According to the legal mind, the release of Professor Dieudonné Oyono sends a message to Cameroonians about the Special Criminal Court. First, according to her, is the reassurance that being acquitted from the Special Criminal Court is possible in Cameroon. She attentively followed the hearing and says everything was done in collegiality, which to her are positive signals from the Cameroonian judicial family to Cameroonians about the Cameroonian judicial system. Acquitted in a Tuesday, October the 4th, 2022 decision, Professor Dieudonné Oyono spent over 4 years in detention, co-accused of embezzling an accumulated 1.7 billion francs CFA. The former rector of the University of Douala was co-accused alongside Abdulaziz, former accountant of the said university. They were picked and detained on accusations of embezzling and the swindling of public funds through the award of fraudulent contracts and the non-payment of value-added tax, VAT. The act, committed in 2014, took over 4 years for its verdict to be pronounced after a thorough audit of the university's public investment account.
We stay with our political desk man for me and Strong. Sandau tells us that a historian and philosopher of international ranking, Achille Mbembe, has outlined a couple of proposals that France must adopt in order to save its face on the African continent. Speaking within a program to relaunch the democratic agenda in Africa, the philosopher called out France for a double-standing position on the military government in Mali and Chad. Let's now have more with Armstrong Sander.
The historian and philosopher Achille Mbembe was talking to Paris-based Radio France Internationale, RFI, answering questions on his project, the Foundation for the Renovation of Democracy in Africa. Achille Mbembe said France needs to rebrand its policies and approach in Africa if it must continue to stay in the continent. Considering the growing anti-French sentiment across Africa, the recent democratic collapse in Mali and now Burkina Faso, Achille Mbembe said France needs a rethink regarding its military interventions and its presence in Africa. This, according to him, has a direct link with anti-French sentiment, especially within the Sahel, where terrorism continues to flourish amid a heavy French military deployment. On the socio-economic domain, the philosopher said France needs to urgently reconsider its accord with African countries linked to the franc CFA. In this domain, France needs to pay more attention to growing debates on the continuous use or not of the franc CFA by its former African colonies and to genuinely accompany the views of the majority of African colonies. Considering France's contradictory position on the military government in Mali and Chad, Achille Mbembe said France needs a harmonized democratic position if it must maintain a good democratic reputation in Africa. France should not be hailing a military government in Chad and condemning another in Mali at the same time. Achille Mbembe believes that France still has a good reputation among African leaders and intellectuals. Thus, the urgent needs to relaunch its agenda for a continuous stay in Africa.
Thank you for me, I'm Sean Sander. And on to something else again. Hard drug consumption is said to be one of the major causes of violence in the school milieu. A campaign to sensitize students on the dangers of consuming hard drugs took place in some schools in Marwa in the north region of Cameroon. Let's now have details with Lori Mala.
Observing that the consumption of drugs among students has been frequent in most schools in the town of Marwa, the far north region of the Republic. In reaction to this, a sensitization campaign was organized in schools in order to educate students on the dangers. A care center for the follow-up of victims was as well inaugurated.
We decided to come here for a youth sensitization of students by organizing this huge caravan, which is coupled with the inauguration of a care center for disintoxication of students in the far north region.
During the campaign, the governor of the far north region, Mejiawa Bakari, called on the teachers and students to be responsible.
Les meurtres dans les établissements scolaires, les couteaux qui sont retrouvés dans les
frequent deaths in schools, weapons and drugs which are seen in school bags instead of written materials is showing us a strange society. That is why we call on the entire society to fight this ill and to put the children on the path of success.
Ces fléaux-là et remettre les enfants sur le couloir de la réussite, du positivisme.
The population of Marwa now hope to see change among young people with the presence of the rehabilitation center.
And that was it for the news. Viewers, I join my voice on to that of the entire production crew. So thank you so much for always according us your time every 6 p.m. And our programs continue as usual. Equinoxe comes up in about 30 minutes. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television.